Good evening. Today's daf Saldi Bet Amud Aleph. We're in the Gemara around halfway down. Sorry, a third of the way down. We got some Haggadah today. Kol Elu Shamrud Dmei Boshto. Naturally, we said you're paying according to the embarrassment. Aval Tzara, but regarding his pain, anguish, I feel if you call Elu even if you bring all the rams of Nebayot, which is an expensive ram's place, as kapara, you still don't get forgiveness unless you ask for forgiveness. Rabbi, see over there, return the man's wife. He's an Navi and he'll pray for you. The Eshet Navi ba'ayda it sounds like only because he's the wife of the prophet he has to return. Eshet acher lo ba'ayadure. If it wasn't the prophet's wife, you don't have to return it. So why it's specified that she's the wife of the prophet. Always return somebody else if it's someone else's wife. And he's trying to defend himself. Abimelech trying to defend himself. Oh, but she told me, and your sister, and you told me that you're her brother. He's innocent. Navihu, therefore we say no, he's a Navi. We already know. A host, a visitor came to the city. You should ask him regarding whether he's hungry and thirsty. Do you start asking the guy, oh, who's this lady? Is it your wife or your sister? Right. So the fact that Abraham defended himself, right? He said he's a brother and sister, because the first thing they asked him is, instead of asking him about hosting him, they asked him about his wife. So we see from here that Bnei Noach is chayav for doing something that he thought was mutar, because he should have learned. He should have paid attention. And if he made a mistake, he should have paid better attention. Like Avimelech should have done better behavior in welcoming him, even though, and if something bad would happen, because that it still would have been his problem. Hashem prayed to Abraham prayed to Hashem to heal Avimelech and his family, because Hashem completely blocked him. Why do you say two blockages? Ahad Beish, one was for the man, Shechvat Zera, they weren't able to release the Zera. Shtaim Beishan, two for the woman, Shechvat Zera V'Lada. They couldn't let out the Zera inside and also give him birth. Matitina Shtaim Beish, two for the man, Shechvat Zera L'Ktanim, Zera and urination. Shosha Beishan, three for the woman, Shechvat Zera L'Ktanim V'Lada, Zera, urine, and children. They couldn't give birth, right? So we're mentioning what the punishment was for the males and females in Avimelech's house. Third opinion, Rabbi Amar, Shalosh Ba'ish, three for the men. Shechvat Zera, Ktanim, Upi Tabat. Zera, urine, and the other side, number two, defecation. Arba'a Ba'ishan, four for women. Shechvat Zera, Veda, Ktanim, Upi Tabat. Also, Zera, childbirth, urine, and defecation. Next, Ba'ad Kol Reichem, every single hole was blocked off. What does it mean every? Even a hen, a chick, in the house of Avimelech could not give birth to an egg. Okay, we're going to go through a lot of different things, a lot of sayings or halachot or things that we know, and bring the sources. How do we know? Whoever prays for his friend, he needs the same exact thing. He's answered first, right? We have a lot of people who need shidduch, pray for another person's shidduch, and they'll get answered first. How do we know this from? When Eob prayed for his friend, Hashem gave back to him what he lost as well. You brought that source from there, but I'm I'll read it from here. Abraham prayed to Hashem, Hashem healed Avimelech and them. And then afterward, so Hashem released the blockages by the other people, and then Sarai was able to give birth. And it used the Lashon, Hashem already remembered Sarai. Just like when Abraham prayed to Avimelech to get them released, Hashem already remembered Sarai to heal them as well. How do you know what the same people say? Along with thorns, cabbage gets ruined. And if you uproot a bush growing in a cabbage patch, you might uproot the cabbage as well. Amarle? Right, so if you uproot a wicked person, like if you have wicked people next to the neighbors will also get wicked. Amarle, brings different source. How long will you refuse to observe my mitzvot? Right, he'll included the other people who were going against the Surah, but the people around them also were included in the rebuke. Regarding Yosef, when he took his brothers to introduce them to Paro, he took only 5 of the brothers. Who were the 5? These are the same 5 names that were mentioned by Moshe when Moshe blessed Bnei Israel before he died, the same 5 people, because they were the weaker ones, and he wanted them to not get chosen by Paro to become part of the army. How come was Yehuda mentioned twice? I mean, Yehuda was strong. Yehuda's name was made into something else. May Reuven live, not die, and may his men be counted. And this is for Yehuda. What's going on? Okay. All those 40 years of Bnei Israel when the Midbar Hayu Asmatav Shiyudah Megagulim Ba'aron, the bones of Yehuda that are being brought up from Mitzrayim to Eretz Israel were rolling around in its coffin. Until Moshe prayed for him. Who caused Reuven to confess? Right? Reuven confessed that regarding moving the bed. He learned from Yehuda. Yehuda confessed by Tamar. Miyad Shema Hashem Kol Yehuda. Therefore, Hashem, the pasuk says, Hashem listened to Yehuda and allowed him to rest in the coffin. Al Evrei L'Shafa, the limbs fixed themselves, the bones. But they did not allow him into the Bet Midrash in Shamayim. So Moshe said, bring him to his people, and he was able to go inside. But he didn't understand Chachmim there. He did not understand how to learn with the Chachmim. Therefore, he prayed, Yadav Rav Lo, and he's able to do it. He did not understand halacha. The pasuk fixed that as well. Okay, what do we know people say? Poorness follows the poor. The wealthy people would bring their bikurim to the Beit HaMikdash in baskets of gold and silver, while the poor people brought theirs in the wooden baskets. And the poor people would give the baskets with the bikurim and let it keep it because they don't want it. They're embarrassed to take a piece of wood back. But the wealthy people would take back their golden trays. You brought their source from there, but I'll bring it from somewhere else. Turn the page. Hamud Bet. Regarding Mitzvah, you shall call out Tameh. Not only must he have Tzarat, the Mitzvah, but he'll also be embarrassed again by being called Tameh. Next, we know that Hashkol Be'echol, you eat early in the day, but in the summer because of the heat, because the winter you eat early because of the cold. People will also say, 60 runners run, but did not catch up to the person who ate bread early in the morning. How do we know they're supposed to eat early in the morning, no matter what season? You brought the source from there, but I'll bring from here. This refers when you serve God, it's referring to Shema and Tefillah. Bless your bread and water. This is referring to the morning meal that you have bread and salt with water. After that, remove sickness from your midst. Right? So if you do it, you'll remove sickness. Referring to sickness. Zumara is referring to the gallbladder. Someone in the chat who had in the Daf Yomi Habura who had a gallbladder removed. And it says, why is it called a sickness if it's a gallbladder? There are 83 sicknesses associated with the gallbladder. And mahala sickness is the gematria of 83. The kulan, all of them, you can fix them by eating bread with water. It's salt in the morning. With water, it'll stop those sicknesses. Having another say, if your friend calls you donkey, take the saddle off a donkey and put it on your back. Meaning, admit to what he's saying, that okay, and don't start fighting back. Right? The angel called Hagar the maidservant, even though she said that she was running away from Hagar. She's running away from Sarai, so therefore she's not a maidservant. Therefore, why would she call herself a maid? She didn't say, "Oh, how come you call me a maidservant? I'm running away from my master, my mistress." She didn't complain. People say, if you have a problem, If you have a fault, bring it up before anybody else says. If you have something wrong with you, make sure you mention it before anybody else mentions it. Eliezer, when he started talking to Rivka's family, he said, I am a servant of Abraham. So no one says, oh, look, this guy is an Abed. People say, Shapil va'azil bar avza. A duck stoops as it goes, but it's looking down, but it looks far. Regarding Abigail, right? Even though you're looking down, you should look to the future. Abigail said that God will kill her husband, and maybe David, you should remember me to marry me after her husband dies. People say 60 aches of hurt the mouth of a person. Who hears someone else eating and does not eat. I know people suffer when people are benefiting and they don't. He mentioned that people got invited to sit with the king and other people weren't invited. After you brought a source from there, I'll bring a different source. Yitzhak married to the Sarah. Sorry, Yitzhak married Rivka in his mother's tent, married her, and he became consoled Nehama from his mother's passing. And then afterward, we see Abraham felt bad, and therefore Abraham married somebody else to make up for it as well. People say the wine is the master's, but the thank yous is someone else's, meaning the wine belongs to one person, but the appreciation goes to the person who pours it for you, like the bartender. God said to Moshe, point to Yeshua as your successor. You'll put your smicha on him, and everybody else will pay attention. Right? So even though Hashem gave the power to Yeshua, but Moshe got the credit for giving smicha and the chokhmah to Yeshua. People say, a dog in its hunger will swallow stones. People will eat anything if they're starving. You'll eat even any bitter thing is considered sweet when you're starving. A bad palm that grows next to barren trees. People who are empty and not doing anything in this world, the wicked, it'll affect the people, things next to them. He mentions in the Torah. Shanobi mentioned again in the Nevi'im. Shlash b'Ketivim is mentioned a third time in the Ketuvim. Utnan b'Matatim went in the Mishnah. V'Tanin b'Braita and went in the Braita. Let's do each one. Ketuv Torah mentioned in the Torah. Tirtiv v'Yelech Esav v'Yishmael. Esav the Rasha went to Yishmael's family to take Mahalat, the daughter as a wife. Shanobi mentioned in the Nevi'im. Tirtiv v'Yitlaketu el Yiftach Anashim Rekim v'Yetu Imo. He went around the people who were bored next to Yiftach and they went with him. Back to the Vim, mentioned in Ketuvim as well. Call off Limino, Yishkon, Ubnei Adam, Domelo. Every bird lives with him, and a person shall be similar to him. Mentioned the Mishnah, anything connected to Tum'ah is also Tameh. Anything that's connected to Tahor is Tahor. Vitanina, Braita also mentioned a Braita. Rabbi Lazar Omer, Lo Lechinam Halach, Zarazir, Etel Orev, not for anything that the bird went to the raven, because it's type of his own species. All the bad stuff associate themselves with other bad things. People say, if you call to your friend to stop him from doing bad things and he doesn't respond, put a large wall in between. Separate yourself from him. And if you don't try to clean yourself, you'll never be clean. People say, do not throw earth or dirt into the well that you drain from. You don't hate the Edomim because he's their brother, and don't go hate Mitzrayim because they hosted you, even though it wasn't good hosting. Right? You also say that the sources of like Moshe Rabbeinu with the Makot and the land and the water. People say, if you lift the burden, if you help me with the thing, I'll help you. If you don't help me, I'll do it myself. I won't do it myself. If you go with me, I'll go. If not, not. When you were young, people considered us as hashub. Now that we're old, we're as low as children. Yani, how do we know that people who are young are more hashub than older people? In the beginning, when Bnei Israel were leaving last week, parasha, Hashem went before them during the day to lead them, and at night he also gave them fire. But at the end it says, I'm sending you a malach to watch you on the way. In the beginning, when Bnei Israel left Mitzrayim, God led, and at the end, an angel sent. People say, if you follow a wealthy guy, you'll also become wealthy. Funny thing, I just taught this yesterday in my class. Abraham was very wealthy, and Lot, who was with Abraham, also became wealthy. Whoever brings his friend to judgment to God, he'll be punished for his own avirot first. Sarai told Abraham, I'm bringing you to court, but let God judge you. So Sarai said to Abraham that she wants Hashem to judge. And then we see that Abraham eulogized Sarai first. She died first. But it only applies when you could have brought judgment in this world, meaning Sarai should have brought Abraham to Shem Ve'ever as Bedin and handled there. But if no one else can judge it except for God, you can't do it. It's worse for the person who cries out more than the person who's getting the victim. Sounds like the person who's crying out and the person who's causing the cry is in the pasuk. Why? Right? In the pasuk, it shows you that the person who's crying out, complaining, gets punished before the person who's causing the complaining. The ordinary person's curse should not be nothing in your eyes. Because Abimelech cursed Sarai. And ended up happening to her kids. It shall be to you, he gave her a gift of 1,000 silver pieces to Abraham. He says it'll be a cover of your eyes. Yani, let it block your eyes from not liking me anymore. Since you covered up the facts from me that he's not your husband, and you caused me pain, that your children have blindness. And it happened to her children. How was it? Yitzchak was blind when he got older. You should be among the people who are chaste and not a chaser. And if you have a chance to switch the table on the guy and chase him instead, don't do it. You have no bird that's more chaste, more than pigeons and doves. And Torah said they're the only ones allowed to be brought for the Mizbeach. There's a zechut in being on the run, and don't chase somebody else because that will give them more zechut and not yourself. But if someone's trying to kill you, obviously you're allowed to do that first. We'll stop here.